Hold on, beautiful people. This might glitch for a second. Oh, I might have to stop the video and start it over. Oh, y'all. I'm gonna have to stop this because this is not gonna work. All right. So if y'all here, oh wait, ooh, it popped in. I don't know what's going in and out. Okay, so I gotta start it over. All right, we good. Hold on. It's scaring me. All right, beautiful people. Look, I put a little intro up here to start before we started. Was y'all able to see the intro? Maybe, because it was only like a minute long. What I think I need to hit like the loop, because I looked at it for a second, but I think it only played it like that one time. I meant for it to loop. Maybe Vanette was the only one that saw it, because I saw her come in while I played the loop. I don't know. I'll try it again tomorrow. But anyway, happy Wednesday, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. Bring up this. Vanette, Auntie Belinda Brown, Shayla, hey cousin, Ema, Hannah, Great Spirit. I think you were timed out yesterday, Great Spirit, by mistake. I don't think the Bronze Yog meant to do that on purpose. Because I saw he had timed it out. It's probably like one of those butt dial things that tends to happen from time to time. Sorry. I looked into it. I'm almost certain it was a mistake. Because all y'all said was peace and blessings. Yeah, I'm certain it was a mistake. Dawn, Grand Rising, homie. Avia, Kendrick, Jamia, Shalom, sis. Elijah, Grand Rising, and everybody else here already hanging out in the background in both places, YouTube and Facebook. Top of the day to you. All right, I'm going to pull this up. So I'm going to have to do like I did yesterday and read from the screen. I was going to print it out, but then I was just taking too much time, and then I didn't do it. So let me pull it up here. There we go. Let me scroll all the way. Remember, we're going to start all the way at the end of the book. I read the last couple chapters of Kosmon, but I'm going to start right at the beginning of Kosmon. And then once we're done with that, we'll go all the way back to the beginning. Kind of doing like that preview of the ending of the movie first. And that is on page of the PDF, page 553. No, 557. At least my PDF says page 557. All right, so go there. I'm gonna adjust my screens up here so I can see everything. All right, I think we're good. Shebrew, shalom, sis. All praises to the Creator. All right, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, January the 4th, 2023. Day 306 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets under the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1325. That is without the Sabbath days, and of course, the little hiatus that I took. Today, we're picking back up in the book of Kosmon, which is the last book in the Romance of the Red Star, which is just another sweet little name for a WASPy published under, like I said, a different name. You can find it in the Library of Congress as well. It was recorded there in 1901. And so when we read a little bit more of this, after we get done, we'll read a little bit more of chapter 9 in the Field Guide to the Spirit World, which is the possession chapter. All right. Quick second. All right, let's get started. Father, we thank you that you create beautiful things out of nothing. All right, y'all. Page 557 in the PDF, it says Kosmon at the top. Y'all got it? Let's go. Uncle JB, Shalom, James Brown. All right, chapter 1. Like I said, it's the last book in Romance of the Red Star. Tiffany! Hey, girl, hey! I just saw you pop in over here on Facebook. Okay, y'all. When Jehovah brought the great solar serpent along the road of Vorkum, that's interesting. We see Sir Vorkum in here. Okay. When Jehovah brought the great solar serpent along the road of Vorkum in Etheria, behold, earth passed into the light of the ark of Kosmon. To his Etherian gods and goddesses, Jehovah said, behold, in 12 generations, the dawn of in 12 generations, the dawn of Kosmon will reach the earth. In former cycles, I sent my Lewis to raise up certain mortals through whom I could reveal my commandments unto others. In Kosmon, behold, I shall not raise up any great leader forth. My light shall fall upon thousands and thousands of many varieties of talents shall be my chosen in that day. That kind of sounds like what it says in the book of Joel, right? In the last days, I'm going to pour out my spirit upon all flesh, men servants, maid servants, old men, young men, those that have visions and dreams, right? That sounds like the whole lot of us, right? Animalistic nature. In former cycles, I sent my Lewis to raise up certain mortals through whom I could reveal my commandments unto others. And Kosmon, behold, I shall not raise up any great leader forth. My light shall fall upon thousands and thousands of many varieties of talents shall be my chosen in that day. For which reason, when ye have descended to earth, ye shall appoint Lewis unto millions of mortals, and they shall raise up a numerous offspring unto me. And it shall be born with them to see and feel that a new era is at hand, and they shall be born skeptical to the ancient doctrines, and they shall be born skeptical to the ancient doctrines, gods, lords, and saviors. Nevertheless, they shall be the best of men, and wise and charitable, and most considerate of the opinions of others. And when the Western continent, it sound like us, right? It sound like us, not just us, but people around the world that's sick of the crap. We being born like this now. Hold on, Jesus, who? What? I don't think that's right, Mama. Let me go back to nursing. Let me read that again. And it shall be born with them to see and feel that a new era is at hand, and they shall be born skeptical to the ancient doctrines, gods, lords, and saviors. Nevertheless, they shall be the best of men, and wise and charitable, and most considerate of the opinions of others. And when the Western continent is inhabited across from east to west, all the earth will be circumscribed with men of wisdom and learning. And the year of the circumscribing shall be the beginning of Kosmon, and the heavens of the earth shall be opened, and the angels thereof shall descend to the earth and make themselves known to mortals, even through those whom your Lewis shall have borne unto the work. And from that time forth, the old order shall decline to be put away forever, and the new order shall take its place to triumph over all the earth. Therefore shall the virtue of preaching come to an end, but practice in fulfilling good works and living up to my commandments shall be all that will avail for the establishing of my kingdom on earth. Go ye forth, my beloved, fulfill the seasons of the earth, that my people may rejoice in their lives. Chapter 2. Far up in the vault of the firmament, in the Etherian realms of Jehovah, the voice of the Almighty had spoken. The Orion chief of Huamat and Balis called into the gods and goddesses on the plains of Thessalona, Nadab and Vraghioma. Hold on. The Orion chief of Huamat and Balis called unto the gods and goddesses on the plains of Thessalona. Nadab and Vraghioma called for 10 million volunteers. Chanling, son of Jehovah, chief of Fabowachosi, and Balis said, Come and think of mortals, inspire them with holier thoughts, make them comprehend the light of Jehovah. Then spake Thechea, chieftainess of Huamat and Dicadonis, saying, I will lead you to the rising red star, the little traveling earth. Behold, she cometh our way. She will cross the ark of Kosmon in 400 years. Lita Bakrathrava, Orion chief of Yohemoa, of 200,000 years, God of Ithwan, 40,000 years, said, Behold, my Otavan, my fire ship, goeth that way on her cruise of 10,000 years. Come with me, my Otavan will carry 1,000 million. I will halt and leave you on earth with mortals. Like, yeah, homie, come on, catch a ride. I'm going past that way anyway. DC, shalom, shalom. Darn, it is good stuff, right? Mom, shalom, shalom. Like, come on, y'all. Y'all can hop a ride. Let's go. Hold on. Come with me. My Otavan will carry 1,000 million. I will halt and leave you on earth with mortals. Chasen, chief of Awintaba, of 60,000 years, called a host of his swift messengers 10,000. Unto them he said, Provide an aeroship of great velocity, and go ye in the former roadway of earth, in the regions whither she have traveled thousands of years. Proclaim it in the Etherian heavens, the corporal world, earth. The corporal world, earth, nears the time of Kosmon. Mortals on earth are to be illumined and made to comprehend the glorious plans of the heavens of the Almighty. In 400 years, the Father's kingdom is to be founded on the red star. Bornathantes, chief of Guaga, called his holy council and placed in the palace of Nu, gardens of Lasanitizi. I'm sorry, y'all. I still be screwing up these words and names. Forgive me. Lasanitizi. And they looked across the firmament far off to see the slow rolling earth where mortals still groped in darkness, whose people could not read the unseen heavens. Then spake Atevia, goddess of Peronitis. She said, Oh, I remember earth, the form of her lands changed by Oth in the Ark of Noah 24,000 years ago. Hayata, goddess of the flying wing, was there, and I with her in her Eric Wagner. Oh, it is a glorious world. I will be one to go thither for the 400 years. Atavia was the first volunteer, but now the names rolled like sparks of fire flashing in the firmament. Presently, the numerators sent up rockets, the signals that the 10 million had responded to Jehovah's call. These then were the Etherian kingdoms that contributed: Jason in the swamps of Lo, Rhodus of the mountains of Kimbak, Tisan and Karwa of the plains of Tasahacha, Amos, the Choson resort, and Sagama, the kingdom of Mathazi, goddess of Tuesta. Bornothtes, why do they pick names like this? Like, let me keep going. Bornothtes sent swift messengers to these kingdoms. Some were 500,000 miles distant, and some lay amidst nebulous forests, thousands of miles high and broad. And he called to them to assemble in Payata under the under the arches of Geddes to consult together and prepare for the journey. So when the hosts were assembled in Piata, Jehovah appointed Wawa, Thatagawawa, Thatagawawa, That. The last part is Wawa. I'm thinking about the Wawa gas station here. Tatagawawa. Tatagawawa. Okay. Jehovah appointed Tatagawawa as God of the cruise and mission. And Litabakathavara ordered his fire ship to be brought to Piazza, where it no sooner arrived than the host of the mission, the 10 million who went abroad as guests and companions to Litabakathavara, 50 million traveling visitors to worlds 10,000 times further on. Oh my gosh. And now, began the trumpeters and the Isinars and songs of praise. Then upward, outward, rose the air of Wagner, the ship of fire, whose photosphere, as to size, was like a world, rose up higher and higher, heading for the far off red star that coursed in the serpent's coil 1.5 million miles a day. 2,000 million miles off lay the red star, Earth, seen by the magnifying instruments of the gods, seen in its little orbit around the sun of 500 million miles. 400 million miles a day sped the air of Wagner through the Etherian worlds like a flash of light shot forth the ship of Litabakathavra, Orion chief of 1,000 years, coursing the Etherian heavens of Jehovah. A God that, but to look on a corporal world, knew the grade of her mortals and angels, even as in his flight he passed on. Boy, that's amazing. He knew the grades of all the mortals while he was passing by, right? That's like riding through somebody's neighborhood, being able to see in all their house who is vagabonds, who's not, who keep their house clean. He in there beating his wife. Like he can see all of that as he cruised by. And they're going at tremendous speeds. And it's a whole, we'll just say 7 continents, because that's what we know. 7 continents full of people, multiple states and cities broken up. Listen what this Jake just said. Hold on. 400 million miles a day sped the air of Wagner through the Etherian worlds like a flash of light shot forth the ship of Litabakathavra, Orion chief of 1,000 years, coursing the Etherian heavens of Jehovah, a God that, but to look on a corporal world, knew the grade of her mortals and angels, even as in his flight he passed on. Whew. Avia, shalom, shalom. Look, 5 days and nights traveled the hosts of the emancipated heavens to reach earth, traveled through thousands and thousands of Etherian worlds, of forests and swamps of Ga, and of nebula and Agi, and regions of light, and mountains and rivers and plains, countless places, inhabited and uninhabited in the great expanse of Jehovah's kingdom. Then they came to Chinvat, and there halted to survey earth and her unruly heavens, where the 4 false gods proclaimed themselves monarchs of the universe. A day they rested. That would be the 4 great religions is what? Christ, which is Luamong, Christ spelled with a K or C, however you want it, still the same unruly God ruling over all of them, right? You got Luamong, which is Christ. Then you got the Buddhists, the Brahmins, and those who worship Muhammad, the Mohammedans. Okay. A day they rested, and a day they measured the grade and standing of earth's mortals. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's right. I started in the right place. Let me just go back. Let me just start back. The last paragraph of this chapter. 5 days and nights traveled the host of the emancipated heavens to reach earth, traveled through thousands and thousands of Etherian worlds, of forests and swamps of Ga, and swamps of GA and of Nebula and Aji and regions of light and mountains and rivers and plains, countless places, inhabited and uninhabited in a great expanse of Jehovah's kingdoms. Then they came to Chinvat, where halted to survey. What?
I'm not saying the ones that have DMT, but shrooms are, I wouldn't say our closest relatives, but literally it is the one plant that is not classified fully as a plant, and is the closest to us. Then, well, I already knew this part, but without fungus, because what fungi and mushrooms, what they indicate is rebirth, because when things die, they come up, new life sprouts. So with them,
you probably love to have this conversation with the bronze yogi. He's talking about mushrooms.
Oh, so well, I would like to get a little bit more educated on it, because I'm sorry I know this has nothing to do with the morning teaching.
Nothing ever has anything to do with the morning teaching, Jeremiah.
Well, what are you talking about right now?
Well, we're reading through the book of Kosmon. We found, though, what we're thinking is the original John Lant plates given under another name, filed under another name. So we're just kind of going through it just to see the differences and stuff.
And I have another question. What is the overarching goal? Not with the morning reading, but the research that y'all doing?
Growth. That is the goal overall, to grow spiritually, continue to develop. And we just happen to show up and do it together. That's the goal.
So y'all digging up the past. Y'all digging up the lost teachings in the past.
Not necessarily digging up the lost teachings of the past. We're sorting through what we've been given currently. What doesn't apply, we do away with it, right? As we continue to grow, listen to the Father as he gives us instruction for this day and age, just filtering through stuff, getting rid of what's bad, what was for that time. We don't need that now. We'll pull the lessons from it, move on with the lessons. But the rites and ceremonies, all that stuff, we don't need that. But it's about growth.
Something that will match you and your group.
How do you know what would match me and my group?
It's this right here. Like
BC said, look into the mycelium network. He probably already has.
Mycelium network. Isn't that
Let me see. Look, y'all about to take this. I'm about to cut this conversation short. We ain't talking about mushrooms this morning. We're trying to get through this reading.
Either that's a system of its own, like either they're talking about its own. I think I know what they're talking. There's like two.
It's talking about mushrooms. Look into the mushroom network, son.
I know, but there's like two types. There's one form of fungi that actually like is crazy. Japanese, they actually built their tunnels off of it, and that's how they're so efficient. They don't really need cars. They already got the tunnel systems.
Okay, no, he's talking about, I don't know. You talking about getting to the mushrooms and all the stuff? I don't know. I take the long road.
Well, no.
Listen, look, BC, email that stuff to me so I can give it to him. I'm about to get back to my reading the book of Kosmon.
Well, I'm just going to back this part. I just think we shouldn't neglect mushrooms for the simple fact they
talking about. Look, don't be trying to talk me into just try the mushrooms, Mom. I don't take shortcuts.
You don't have to take them, but
him and my nephew Aaron came home off of leave. They sitting here talking about watching all this stuff on mushrooms and meditation, because while he was gone, he had the opportunity to meet with a shaman, right? And so they did some mushrooms. He was guided by the shaman and everything. So he was telling us about his experience. And he was like, Auntie, you really need to try it. I'm like, listen, you can call me old school / new school, still trying to figure this all out. But I stopped smoking weed. I'm not taking mushrooms.
That's what people really get confused on. Look, shrooms do not get you high. They say it.
I know. I done looked into it.
It just makes you way more sober.
Right. Okay. I know, and that's good for y'all. Y'all take that road and y'all give y'all experience. But I'm gonna take the natural long road for people that don't have access to shrooms and the shamans and all this other stuff. Right? It may take me a whole lot longer. I may be like 15 years behind everybody, but I guarantee you, I'm gonna know these roads in and out. And somebody that takes shrooms and they done took some shortcuts, not saying the people that take mushrooms do shortcuts, but some of them do tend to take shortcuts. When I catch up with them down the road, they might be walking in circles. I'm looking like, which way do I go? Which way do I go? I'm like, bruh, okay, let me tell you what happened. So back about 15 years ago, here's where you got off. Let me help you. That's just me. That's just something I decided to do. I'm just gonna take the long road. I decided to cut out all the extracurricular, um, what the extracurricular activities in my life and do it the wrong way. I'm gonna just go to the gym every day and lift my little weights, and I get stronger by the day. All right. It may take me longer, but okay. I ain't taking steroids. I ain't doing none of that. I need to be clear. Right? Okay. All right, y'all. Listen, so BC, the whole mushroom stuff, you can email that to me and I'll graciously pass it on to him. Nazarene is saying shalom, shalom. They said they're still waiting on your channel, Jeremiah. All right, y'all. I know, right? Jamil, we was gonna do it organically. Okay, where we at? Chapter 3. Did I a day they rested, a day they rested, a day they rested, and a day they measured the grade and standing of earth's mortals and angels, and they descended straight to paradise, the place of God, Jehovah's Son. Chapter 3. Kabbalites. Did I say that right? I remember that we came across this name quite a few times. I think I still might be saying it wrong. Kabbalites said, "My most high holy council, Lords of heaven and earth, give ear. This day, my scouts on the borders of Vredat, my suburban kingdom in Tau, saw a light descending like a world on fire. Consternation came upon my dutiful subjects, fearing some foreign god menaced their liberties. To appease them, Hathav, my lord and command, dispatched hither messengers to know my will. But when they arrived, others came also, but from the heavenly plateau, Itusak, my northern kingdom, with the same ominous tale, than others from other kingdoms in my heavenly regions. Some have seen the light, but faintly, some have seen it brilliant as a pillar of fire. Whilst here within our well-secured heavenly seat, it hath been only as a falling meteor. Speak, my lords, know ye more of this? Methevi, Lordess, said, all highest of gods, be considerate of womanly fears and detract accordingly from my magnified expressions. To me, this descended star is some far off ally with God, Jehovah's worshiper in paradise. For by the course of the falling light, it landed thither. Is not this some stratagem to reestablish Jehovah, whom we have chased from earth and heaven? Thibke, Lord, said, it is not a year since some other foreign god descended to paradise. Behold, this last one cometh from the same angle beyond Chinvat. Peradventure, the former was but a scout sent from some heavenly realm, which hath now answered with this mighty Aravagna. Sinlu, Lord said, it was said of old, when the heavens clear, look out for Jehovah's worshippers, the infidels against reigning gods. Okay. Sinlu, Lord said, it was said of old, when the heavens clear, look out for Jehovah's worshippers, the infidels against the reigning gods. Now behold, in the very season when Aji flieth away, and our souls are on the eve of rejoicing, here cometh an ominous meddler with our slaves to do us mischief. Thus spake many lords. And in Kabbalites' holy council of 1,000,000 members were many who had been long promised preferment and higher dominion than to legislate for another's kingdom, and they had received nothing worthy of the name for more than 1,000 years. And these had a small spark of hope left that some external disaster to Kabbalites' extensive kingdoms would open the way for rich adventures in their own behalf, with millions of slaves to do them reverence. So even whilst their tongues upheld their monstrous idol, the false Buddha, their own souls were equally perfidious. When many of the high council had spoken, then again Kabbalites went on, My marshal in chief shall select a host of 1,000,000 strong and provide them an arrow boat to command, which I appoint Tenvedas, general, to go to paradise in my name, greeting to learn the will and pleasure of this adventurous God that cometh to vanquish king that cometh to the vanquished kingdom of Jehovah's Son to offer him the freedom of my kingdom for a monthly visit.
Can we just skip all the thy talk and get straight to the normal English that we all
Well,
understand?
this was
They have to do it.
published like literally in 1900.
So,
Well, 1901.
so you telling me they couldn't?
That's how they talk, Old English. We just kind of slanged everything out. We made it sound a little bit more proper and to our liking as time went on.
And it's a lot easier to understand.
That's because we're here, but they talk like that all the day long back then. Okay.
Man, if I come across somebody like that, I'm looking at them like they're crazy.
All right. This doesn't have verses, y'all, so I gotta find my spot.
No.
It's too hot. You gotta wait till it cool down. Monthly visit. Okay. Perchance he hath never seen a city built of gems and precious stones, and the palace and throne of the all highest God, the which to look on may abash him from undertaking some foolish scheme. Now, accordingly, from the false Buddha's magnificent heavenly kingdom, there went an arrow boat, the most precious gem ever built in these heavens, and in it 1,000,000 hosts, arrayed as very gods and goddesses in splendor, while Vedas, with his shining crown and blazing jewels, bespake his generalship as from a rich kingdom. 200,000 slaves worked the boat, and many of these had been in earth life Buddhist priests and were now serving their apprenticeship of 200 years in order to have the privilege in future time of crawling on their bellies to see the throne of the false Buddha and their all highest ideal God. Ain't that crazy? All these dudes spent all this time. Bless you. They spent all this time, all their earth days, worshiping in a Buddhist temple. They were Buddhist priests leading other people to worship Buddha. When Buddha was actually when he was actually living, nobody ever worshipped him, right? And if he was alive, he'd be like, "What are y'all doing? Stop it! Get up! What is y'all doing? Stop shaving your heads! Don't!" Right? Listen, just to fall victim to this, and then when they pass on, they get held up because they were fooled while they were here. Now they're gonna go through all this time worshiping a false god, and by the time they get to the point where they're supposed to get their own kingdom, they're like, "Man, what's going on?" Then they're gonna realize they've been duped, and you done wasted 200 of your, probably more than that, some of them 1,000 years, right? Crawling on their bellies. With each crawl an inch, you got to say a word of praise that's hasn't been the same that you previously spoken. So you got to think about all of the, and that's pretty hard because I be struggling on the mornings just to think of new words to say, just to praise true creator. I'm like, how could they do this? Like, because you're going to get to a point and be like, wait a minute, okay, you're going to have to probably start doing praise. Look, I started looking into some Spanish words, but I was like, no, Pam, this is just in Spanish, but it's the same thing you already said. I'm looking that way. I'm Googling words of praise to the creator. I'm like, well, doggone, I don't know how they did this. Boy, listen, it's crazy. Like, I really be struggling sometimes. Sometimes it'll just come to me. You know, I say, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. But sometimes I got to think for myself. I'm like, well, dang. Well, that was a feat in itself. Listen, while Teventus, with his shining crown and blazing jewels, bespake his generalship as from a rich kingdom. 200,000 slaves worked the boat, and many of these had been in earth life Buddhist priests and were now serving their apprenticeship of 200 years in order to have the privilege in the future time of crawling on their bellies to see the throne of the false Buddha and see their all highest ideal God. That's crazy. Yes. Sorry.
This is the reason why. That one saying was it was in the Bible about putting idols in the name of a certain being.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you have. A religion.
Right. That's
that
exactly what it
causes
is.
harm.
Now it does, but it wasn't originally started that way. They actually started with idols to teach them a principle, but they forgot in the course of time that these were idols just designed to teach. Right, they were just teachers, right, teaching them of a higher principle, but using something that they could see for them to understand, right, because they were being raised higher spiritually, but for some reason they got lost in translation, and for some reason these now become like gods, and they worship these instead of learning the lessons from these.
That's why I believe that God, the creator, all that is not a specific being. It's more so nature and of glass and life that's around us. I don't look at it as that's a being. No, it's just there. Just like this, that came from the earth. This came from the earth. That came from the earth. It's everywhere. It's not a specific thing. It has many forms, and it's not to be praised to, because that's when you fall and cloud your mind. And that's when you become more idealistic and just you cause problems for yourself that you don't want. Because your mind is supposed to be free, not locked on tunnel vision to one thing. It's supposed to be open-minded to everything. Because one, you are, a byproduct of that nature/creation. The highest, two, just to say, you're kind of the pinnacle of creation. So for you to look down and try to idolize something else that you're higher than is kind of weird.
I don't disagree with that.
That's the main reason why it says do not praise idols. Misconstrue your mind, because every religion that's did it, they have fallen off from where they originally started. All religions, when they started, they were so open-minded. These are like the most wisest. They knew teachings that we don't know now, that's forgotten. Like they knew before flood things. And to be honest, I feel like some of them actually predicted, and that's the reason why some relics that are found that is literally sending a message from back in time to us now, they knew what was going to happen because they started to see little byproducts of it. So that's the reason why now the artifacts and stuff that's being uncovered. Mm-hmm. They starting to see like somebody's trying to message us, and it's not just from the past. Now we're seeing things that don't revolve around the past, like just everywhere now, because everything is sending off some type of signal like, yo, y'all kind of falling behind. Like everybody's already, like a majority of the universe already transitioned. Why are y'all still in this state? Like everybody already reached the 4th D. Why are you still in 3D? Like that's why you have all these interference. Like y'all supposed to have been out of kindergarten, yo. Why are y'all still here? So,
I do not disagree with you, Jeremiah. That was kind of good.
Yeah, so that's...
Yeah, but look, Bronze Yogi in the house, he said he getting it. Y'all would love to talk to each other. Like all day long. He just go on and on and on. I'm like, Jeremiah, give me a moment to catch up. Right? He all the way already out here floating and meditating and stuff. I'm like, okay, how you do that? Show me how you do that. He already just, this boy don't need to be on mushrooms or smoke nothing. His mind is like, he's like already there. Not coming in. I said, okay. All right, Professor, I'm ready. Let's go. What you got today? And some days he be talking so much, like if I ain't got 3 hours set aside to listen to him teach, boy, you just like you just like a couple of my uncles. If you ain't got time set aside, we can't have this conversation right now. I got too much to do. Or forgive me while I move around while you talk. I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm trying to whistle while I work, right? Go ahead and talk. I'm moving around, but I'm listening. Amanda, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. Oh, yeah. We're at 39 minutes. We're going to pause right here. We'll pick this back up with chapter 4 tomorrow. So Jeremiah teaching us a lesson a day. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. He says, what you say?
I said, sorry for interfering.
He said, sorry for interfering.
But yeah, we just have to get that off our chest.
Okay.
Where is?
We'll pick up with chapter 4 tomorrow in the book of Kosmon. All right, so let's go ahead to this
Oh, this is
field
right
guide to the
there.
spirit world. All right, y'all. We paused yesterday on page 214 after this paragraph, after it gave us this list of people who were demon possessed and their mood swings and some of the things that they noticed about them. Okay, so I'll start with this with the quote that I ended with yesterday at the bottom of page 214. Quote, something of fearful power exists in a dimension beyond the material realm. End quote. Dave Hunt and T.A. McMahon, The New Spirituality. No doubt, it is absolutely necessary that law enforcement keep these very dangerous people off the streets. To that extent, one can entirely sympathize with their refusal to entertain mitigating circumstances such as involuntary violence, spirit possession, or anything else that could get them legally off the hook. However, in the wider field of human psychology, there is no justification for the experts' failure to keep up with parapsychology. The only explanation for their caution would be career impediment. No major league publisher, no funding source, or institute of higher learning is ready to put their weight behind the unseen. The conservative agenda rules. Materialism rules. Skepticism rules. When it comes to the human mind, we are a century behind all our vaunted advances in technology and physical science. But the SciMat paradigm will fail us. And I forgot what's SciMat. I forgot what SciMat was. It's short. But the SciMat paradigm will fail us. And the first sign of collapse will be in the mental health arena. It's already upon us. A little chastening would go a long way were we to humble ourselves to the time-tested thinking of traditional cultures. A single example, a single example from Malaysia. Quote, in Kelatani's thought, there is no separation of mind and body. All illnesses, psychic and physical, are caused by some spiritual weakness that permits malign spiritual forces capable of causing a variety of symptoms to invade the person. End quote. Crapazano and Garrison, 1977, page 299. Recently, in the fascinating case of an American journalist's complete breakdown, the discovery of and treatment for autoimmune encephalitis, inflammation of the brain, got all the credit for her eventual recovery. The whole ordeal, told by the journalist herself, Susanna Callahan, in Brain on Fire, was a what? Paean to the almighty brain with little insight to the mind, despite the fact that her affliction had all the earmarks of a psychic attack. Inexplicable dread, 2012, page 22. Let me pause right there because there's a couple things. There's an asterisk and there's like the little cross referring us to the references at the bottom. Okay, so go back up where it says, the whole ordeal told by the journalist herself, Susanna Callahan, in Brain on Fire. And that asterisk is after Brain on Fire. At the bottom it says, as of summer 2015, shooting began for a film based on the book. And if you go down a little bit where it says, despite the fact that her affliction had all the earmarks of a psychic attack, and it has a little cross letting you know that's another footnote. And down at the bottom it says, the French psychic medium Minot Druid began her career of literary channeling with a serious bout of encephalitis, brain fever. She vouched that the, quote, poems came to her from a mysterious realm called, quote, the other where, end quote. Spraggett, 1967, page 130. So I'm going to read this whole sentence again. It's pretty long with all of these references in it. Okay. Let me just start back at the beginning of the paragraph. Recently, in the fascinating case of an American journalist's complete breakdown, the discovery of and treatment for autoimmune encephalitis, inflammation of the brain, got all the credit for her eventual recovery. The whole ordeal, told by the journalist herself, Susanna Cahalan, in Brain on Fire, was a paean to the almighty brain with little insight into the mind, despite the fact that her affliction had all the earmarks of a psychic attack. Quote, Inexplicable Dread, 2012, page 22. Migraines and Trouble Sleeping, 2012, page 31. Racing Thoughts and Logorrhea, 2012, pages 55 and 35. Rapid Cycling and Lost Time, 2012, page 12, 33, and 41. Brownouts and Trance, 2012, page 47. Seizures and Catatonia, 2012, page 40. OBEs and Hyperesthesia, 2012, pages 36, 42, 20 to 21, and 28. Grimacing and Inappropriate Laugh, 2012, page 107 and 29. This woman was demon possessed with all of this stuff. Fritz, shalom. Quote, erratic behavior, tantrums, panic attacks, and paranoia, 2012, pages 64, 36, and 222. As happens all the time with MPD, her doctors kept changing her diagnosis. Another victim of encephalitis, a young girl in Tennessee, behaved so strangely and lashed out so violently that she was variously thought to be suffering from schizophrenia, autism, and cerebral palsy. Cahalan, 2012, page 222. Medical opinion, of course, trace all of this strange behavior, excuse me, all of this strange behavior to Cahalan's anti-NMDA receptor autoimmune encephalitis. Well and good, she made a fine recovery under excellent medical care, yet her emotional state, intolerable stress just prior to the disease's onset was never considered a trigger. When FBI agent John Douglas was himself stricken with viral encephalitis, quote, his brain fried to a crisp, end quote. The doctors told him the illness had been, quote, brought on or complicated by stress, end quote. Douglas and O'Shaker, 1995, pages 7 through 8. At works, at work, Douglas's unit, led by the pioneers of criminal mind hunting, was highly charged, tense, and under unspeakable pressure. As his colleague, the equally dedicated and brilliant profiler Robert Ressler recounts, 1992, page 59, quote, nearly everyone in our unit fell victim to stress. One woman profiler bailed out because the work was giving her nightmares. Several of our people developed bleeding ulcers, and 3 had anxiety attacks. 4 of us had periods of rapid and unexplained weight loss, but not purely physical reasons for it were discovered. It was all stress related, end quote. That's crazy. Clearly, people going through these cases, they definitely need to be not just physically trained in their craft or whatever it is their major is, psychology. They really need to be trained spiritually. There needs to be a whole spiritual education that happens. It should happen in tandem, or at the same time. They should have like a spiritual class and then the regular college class that go hand in hand to be able to handle some of this stuff. All these people is freaking out, right? They don't know how to handle it because they weren't taught how to handle the spiritual side of things. Like most doctors aren't taught when they go through medical school. They're only taught about like drugs and like traumas, different things like that, but they aren't taught about food, right? They should be taught about that along with the medicines. So they should try food first to heal the body from most of the things. And really, all they would be needed for is like trauma based injuries and things like that, or maybe like doing, and if you have midwives, even maybe complications during the birthing process, different things like that. But most of the stuff that they're prescribing medicine for can literally be healed if you prescribe them the right diet, the right foods, right? It's kind of like that. So people just, they, you healing one thing, then you're harming something else in your body. All right. Nearly everyone in our unit fell victim to stress. One woman profiler bailed out because the work was giving her nightmares. Several of our people developed bleeding ulcers, and 3 had anxiety attacks. 4 of us had periods of rapid and unexplained weight loss, but not purely physical reasons for it were discovered. It was all stress related. End quote. In Susanna's case, everything about the lifestyle of the young New York reporter was taking its toll. It was, she said, quote, so many things. The job, I'm terrible at it. Stefan, her boyfriend, doesn't love me. Everything is falling apart. Nothing makes sense. End quote. Sobbing uncontrollably, she admitted also to a certain, quote, pressure of fear, end quote, adding, quote, there's something else, but I don't know what it is, end quote. Calhoun 2012, page 37. Something else, the ineffable, quote, jitters, end quote, the, quote, acting out of character, end quote, and the, quote, not like myself, like you're not in this world, end quote. Calhoun 2012, page 36, 18, and 33. The hints here and there, the hints here and there of bipolarism, Calhoun 2012, page 48, of delusions, mania, even schizophrenia. Quote, I can hear their thoughts, end quote. Calhoun 2012, page 84. 2, her dramatic weight loss, anorexia, a symptom, as we have often seen, of leeching, which can result from, quote, contact with occult rituals, end quote. Sarchi and Collier, 2001, page 62. Quote, all they, demoniacs, need is an entrance way into their prospective victim provided by witchcraft or by a curse, end quote. Felicitas Goodman, How About Demons? Indeed, Susanna had a frightening OBE, quote, I can see myself from above, end quote, after contact with a Wiccan who later apologized but sort of downplayed the experience. Quote, it's probably just residue from the astral travel you're experiencing during the reading we did yesterday, end quote. Calhoun 2012, page 36. On a strictly intuitive basis, I sense a hidden factor of jealousy in this psychic attack of Susanna's. And there's an asterisk after her name, and it says at the bottom, in this connection, it is intriguing that in the case of Annalise Michael, whose earliest diagnosis was, quote, a cerebral disease of the convulsive type, end quote, Goodman, 1998, page 115, a friend had commented, quote, she was not born yet when she was cursed. She was not born yet when she was cursed, end quote. A woman had done it out of envy, emphasis added on envy. She was, quote, a neighbor of her mother's in Liebfling, end quote. Goodman, 1981, page 98. This reminded me of another tragic case we have mentioned. Mrs. X, a once contented housewife who most unexpectedly had killed herself. Quote, we lived together happily, and because of this, there were many jealous thoughts centered upon us. Somebody started to upset us, end quote. In no time at all, quote, I remember feeling very strange, as if somebody had taken complete hold of me, end quote. Unexpectedly, she hanged herself. Wicklin 1974, page 133. Sheesh. All right, back up to the top paragraph. I'll reread this last sentence that ended with Susanna's. On a strictly intuitive basis, I sense a hidden factor of jealousy in this psychic attack of Susanna's. First off, she is very beautiful, enough to arouse any woman's envy. On top of that, journalism is a very competitive and aggressive profession, cutthroat even, not for the faint hearted. The backstory in this case may involve unmentioned rivalry. I am simply speculating here, but what if someone put a hex on her, even unintentionally? The whammy would be all the more effective if the target was somehow vulnerable, and Susanna was vulnerable. Let me explain. Susanna's troubles began in an incomprehensible fit of jealousy. Quote, almost everyone who has uncontrolled attachments for people, quick love affairs, jealousy, infatuations, may be possessed. End quote. Martin Ebon, Exorcism. I find that to be true. I just keep going. Susanna had this irresistible urge to snoop on her boyfriend. She found herself, quote, pulling open his drawers and rifling through his clothes, flinging them on the floor until I found the jackpot. Letters and pictures, most of them from exes, end quote. Then, quote, I caught sight of myself in the mirror clutching Stephen's private love letters. A stranger stared back from my reflection. My hair was wild and my face distorted and unfamiliar. I had lost 2 hours. It felt like 5 minutes, end quote. Then a migraine and nausea came on, and her hand went numb. Quote, I went through all of his stuff. It was like I was possessed, end quote. Calhoun, 2012, pages 12 through 13. Because we don't understand mediumship and don't understand overshadowing, we don't understand possession. And because we don't understand the non physical world, we grope for answers in the world of matter. Quote, the form thou doest on, hold on. The form thou dotest on is dust, end quote. E. Bulwer Lytton. And when we are in the dark, the demonic, hold on. And when we are in the dark, the demonic finds that much more. Hold on. I'm reading it wrong. Finds that much more. Okay. And when we are in the dark, the demonic finds that much more to work with. Low grade spirits will not cease to prey upon us mortals until we let in the light, which itself furnishes a gentle mantle of protection. But with no knowledge of post-mortem existence, we continue to swim in the sea of oblivion, the toy of dark forces and spirits in chaos, the undead. The longer we play dumb to the incorporeal powers, the deeper they can hack into our lives. The temple of science is ready for parascience. Are you? And that is the end of this chapter. And right on time, this is the first time we finished at the hour mark, and I don't know how long. But this is good right here at the end. And so this begins a very, very interesting chapter number 10 that we're going to get into tomorrow. We've been waiting for this chapter this whole time we're reading this book. It is the reincarnation hoax, right? So this will help put to rest. And it lines up a lot with what Owaspi says. Reincarnation, it's a hoax. All it is the spirits of our undead brethren and sisterin from current generations and many past generations, if they're still stuck here, lingering around, refusing to grow. That's just them coming in, putting your spirit in the bands, taking over your body. That's how people can give you right information from a few years ago, from somebody who's passed away, even from history many decades ago. It's simply just a spirit from back then that was familiar with what was going on, because he from that time or she from that time. Ain't nobody, you not living another life. You haven't come back here again multiple times. We get one chance to go through this phase. And after that, it's continual growth. Unless you choose not to grow, then you stuck here trying to live life over and over again, using people's bodies to get the corporal thrills, the fleshly thrills through their body, right? Getting people in trouble, putting yourself in deeper trouble, right? When it's time for your deliverance, like you got to make amends for all of this stuff, right? We get one time of passage through this life of the flesh, right? Don't trick your time off. All right, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, January the 4th, 2023, day 306 of year 4, reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1325. Today we read in the book of Kosmon from Romance of the Red Star, which is another name that Owaspy is hidden under back in 1901. It's still Owaspy, but it's allegedly the original John Lant plates. He took his plates from what we're understanding now, and he actually published them himself with a couple other people under the name of Romance of the Red Star, right? So we're going through it. And we started at the last chapter, the book of Kosmon, which is the last chapter there. We're going to read through that, and then we're going to go all the way back to the beginning, kind of like the movies that you watch where they show you the ending scenes. Like, what's going on here? Then they rewind and go all the way back to the beginning. That's what we're doing. All right. So we read chapters 1 through 3 there, and we read the rest of chapter 9, the possession chapter, and Field Guide to the Spirit World, which is pages 214 to page 218. All right, y'all. Question. Avia says, have a question. If you recognize some of these things that might have been in your life in the past, how can you know if they're still with you? That is a good question. I would say fast. I would say water fast, because that's gonna hit it like right in. It's gonna hit you right in your shanana. If it's there, it's gonna start acting up, right? That I know personally. That's the quickest way to find out. I mean, you can go to a counselor and walk through steps, but use some spiritual tools for that. Especially if it's something like deep rooted anger, things that like maybe traumas, emotional traumas and things growing up throughout life, relationships, fasting will poke the bear, so to speak, right? Because what happens, because like the group of us, we're doing like a juice fast now, right? But I thought that, first of all, let me say something that I've noticed before. But when you fast with a group of people, even if y'all all over the world, but y'all come together and y'all like synchronize y'all watches, we're gonna fast for these certain days and we're gonna do this, right? And you get the gist of the reason why y'all fasting. It makes fasting easier. Like, even though you're still feeding your body juice and stuff, sometimes the body just want to do what it want to do. But what I've noticed is this fasting these last few days with y'all, it has been one of the easiest fasts I've ever done in my life. I'm just like, yo, and I make a practice of just doing different fasts multiple times throughout the year, right? But this is really interesting at how easy this one was, right? Even cooking and stuff like that. Like the first few days when I still have to cook with my family, if I don't like prep ahead of time because I know I'm going into a longer fast or something, like the smell sometimes get to me and it's like, oh my gosh, hurry up and get out the kitchen for you eat something by mistake or on purpose, right? It's been none of that. And there, I can literally feel the strength with those of us who are doing it. Like, and I was realizing that yesterday. I'm like, yo, this has got to be the easiest fast. I was like, and they ain't just talking. It's some of them that are actually fasting. Like, I can feel it, right? It's crazy. But yeah, I would say, fasting, from my personal experience, fasting and water fasting will poke that bear. So if there are hidden things down inside of you, it's going to come up. Because fasting, not only does fasting heal the body, right? But it also is an avenue to heal the emotions on the inside of you, which is why people they tend to get all weepy and stuff where they're fasting. It's like their emotions all over the place. Different things start coming up from the past. When you fast, the creator, as your body begins to adjust, even some dreams or maybe nightmares or something. But you got to realize what it is so you don't stop your fast. You got to kind of like just keep going. Sometimes it'll activate, like I said, old memories and even nightmares, and you don't know why you're having it. It's like, oh, it started when I started fasting. Oh my gosh, is this of the devil, Satan attacking me? No, it's the healing process beginning to happen on the inside of you, and just kind of keep going. If you watch some fasting videos, people who have done long fasts and they recorded their results, sometimes even while doing it, they'll get all teary eyed. And I find that happening to myself sometime as well. And it's like, wait a minute, what is going on? And sometimes the tears, they catch me by surprise, so to speak. I could just be walking, and it's not like I'm mentally or emotionally unstable, but at those times I found out that it would be when I'm fasting where that would happen the most, and different things, relationship issues, all of this stuff, childhood, all of this stuff starts to come up. And so I started looking into it a little bit. And there was somebody, this fasting group that I'm a part of. I mentioned them before a long time ago. They on YouTube. The fasting alternative with Chris James, right? He has had a fasting channel, and they do all different types of fasts, right? And they have a lot of education up there. And I'm gonna see if I can find. They've done a couple of videos on that. And so when I was going through some of that a few years ago, I'm like, what in the world? But what happens is it's a healing of the emotions. The body doesn't just want to heal your body and the physical portion. It literally wants to purge the soul. It wants to heal the emotions and make you sound, right? So you have a sound body and you have a sound spirit, you have sound emotions, and now you have a vehicle that your spirit can operate in and can move and grow effectively, right? It's trying to bring all things in line. It's trying to align things. So I would say that's how you would know. Go on a fast, do a water fast, right? If you can't go straight into a water fast, start little, right? Try like, because I had to start when I started fasting, I had to like fast a meal. I couldn't get past a meal. I was like, Pam, this is pathetic. You was not gonna die if you miss a. But that's how I had to build, and I had to grow over years developing this. And then I would fast 2 meals. And then I would fast for a whole 24 hours, right? I felt like I was about to binge, and I'm watching the clock. I was like, you know what, girl, the food ain't going nowhere, right? And you work out the relationship that you have with food. What's food designed for? What is food and what is not food? Most of the things that we're consuming is not, it shouldn't be considered food for humans, right? So if you can fruit fast, you can liquid fast, juice fast, whatever works for you, just start there, but be consistent with it and grow. All right, son, you out.
Oh, Mom, could you help me with this one task? So I'm trying to bulk and gain weight. I'm at 190.
You trying to bulk and gain weight? I'm trying to fast and lose weight. What you talking about? I can't help you with that. I'm gonna just tell you, just eat stuff if you want to gain weight.
Well, it's like, well,
Listen, we'll talk about this in a second, son. We'll talk about this in a second. You got your one interruption for the day, and it was good. It was on the spiritual side, so I let it flow. This can wait. Listen, yeah, Brian Joe, yeah, 2023 year to fast, right? I was like, yeah, all the craziness, like I gotta crack down on myself just a little bit more than what I have been. But it has been fasting with y'all. It has been like the easiest fast I've done in a long time, and that's probably because all minds being the same purpose, pure intentions and stuff, and I literally can feel that spiritually, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so Avia, that's what I would say. She said, like I said, that's just from personal experience. But I will show this video by Chris James and the fasting alternative, right? They even have different, like if you don't know where to start, they've developed over the years all kinds of references that'll help you, education on the body. Because I was watching him and Yaki a lot. But it helped me with a lot of stuff. But yeah, if you don't have anybody around you to help you, um, counseling or stuff like that, if you want to, if it's some things you don't want to share with people, fasting is it it's one of the best cures. It'll help straighten out a lot of your crooked roads, if not all of them. That's from my own personal experience. So yes, Kosmon Cow, shalom, brother, some serious self-introspection. Jamil, what you say? She said, I'm not 100% sold on reincarnation not being real. I don't know why yet. Let's talk about it, sis. We're gonna go into it. But let's go through this chapter. And I spent some time watching, because when I was heading off on that path, I'm like, yo, reincarnation, this is real, bro. Like, because ain't nowhere in the world, like, until I came across this and began to look at certain things and some of my personal interactions with certain people and things, I began to look at it just a little bit deeper, and I had another angle of questions to kind of investigate from. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. This really might not be a thing. This really could be lingering spirits, right? So that's why I just say I don't really, at this point, I no longer believe in reincarnation. I do believe it's and not all spirits that come in and uh I wouldn't necessarily say take over your body. They'll come hang out with you, right? If you allow them, because some people can ask and they'll graciously come and hang out with you. It's still a form of possession, but they're just not vicious. You're like in cahoots with the spirits, and they give you information, right? And they just have the ability, because sometimes their wisdom, even though their wisdom don't go any higher than hotter, it's still more information that most people have on this level if they're not spiritual or haven't developed it, you know. So they can fool a lot of people. They can win a lot. They win a lot of fanfare and all this stuff because they're getting information from people, and they can just go on telling people that, yes, I am Joan of Arc. This is my 14th life. I've been here before. I don't know, but we'll look into it, sis. I feel you though, because for a while I wasn't. I was like, yo, this is really a thing. But now I see that my I was lacking information at that time. So I said, you was having second day struggling yesterday. You had to talk to Vanette. Keep going, sis. Keep going. It's not that long. Not that long. Yeah, make sure. I like Avia. Make sure, and you probably are. Out of all the people, I'm sure you probably are. Don't forget to add in your meditating time and stuff. Like prepare. Like here's something I had to do, but it hasn't been a thing for me. Like I said, this has been one of the easiest ones I've had. Right at times, like when I know the ghrelin. First of all, if you understand about your body and you know that you have ghrelin that kicks in, it's the hunger hormone, right? Just if you just educate yourself just a little bit, not saying y'all not, but just for the people that don't know when you want to fast. I'll share again. Let me see, ghrelin. If you understand how the body works, you can kind of head it off a little bit, right? So you can lessen some of the symptoms till you get into like your third day, right? Because what happens is the ghrelin kicks in, it's the hunger hormone, and depending on how often you eat, your body is used to that. So if you eat every day at noon, at 5, and then again probably at 9 p.m., your body is designed, it's smartly designed. It's going to start like 30 minutes prior to that time, and then it ain't even looking at a clock. The body is just, it's efficient like that. It's going to start producing these gastric juices to be already ready for the food that's coming to start breaking down what you're sitting down to shoot, right? So that's already going, and that kicks in. That's the ghrelin hormone. It's letting you know we're about to receive food based on previous data. Food is coming about this time, so let's get going, right? And so, oh, that's right, it's time to eat. What do I want today? And you head to the kitchen, right? You want to eat so badly, but realize what's happening. And that'll happen for the body will prepare for that. It'll do it in cycles. So if it's preparing to receive food and it doesn't receive food, you have to realize that's going to be about a 2-hour span once the ghrelin kicks in, right? So it's going to prepare it. And then if it doesn't receive food in about 2 hours, it's going to taper off and it's going to go away, and the hunger is going to go away. What you should do is get some water, or if you're juice fasting, get your best freshest juice, right? Juice it, and about that time that you would normally eat, try and do it like a half hour earlier, and just drink the juice, right? You can, however you want to do it, just drink the juice. um but taper it off, right? Don't drink as much as you normally would, especially if you like transitioning from a juice to a water or a fruit or whatever. Just kind of taper down what you would normally. Don't get like a huge jug, right? I mean, you can, if that's where you got to start, then start, but try to lessen the amount you take in. Because what's going to happen is if you drink, okay, so when you're juice fasting, the ghrelin is going to still be produced, right? Because those are calories from food items that are coming in, so it still has to process that. When you water fast, the ghrelin will die off after 3 days, but you're going to have 2 hour bouts with it while it's waiting to receive food. And every time it goes to that time that you would normally eat, okay, we didn't eat at 12 like we normally do. So the ghrelin dies away for like 2 hours. So you're hungry for like 2 hours. Do something to distract yourself. Drink water, go for a walk, get out the house, stay away from food. Otherwise, it's going to be complete torture. Don't scroll on Pinterest looking at recipes and stuff. All of this stuff that you're doing to torture yourself. And the mind begins to figure out ways to get food into your body, right? The body is so smart, but you got to be careful because you'll sabotage yourself, not on purpose, but unconsciously you begin to sabotage yourself because the body thinking about this like fight or flight response, starvation. We don't want to starve. So it's using all its resources to get this to go grab food to put in here to feed this, right? You got to be careful. So if you understand that the ghrelin goes for a period of 2 hours, you can head it off. Like I said, make sure you probably need to schedule something. If you're used to eating 3 times a day, you probably need to schedule something specifically at those 3 times that you eat, probably outside of the house. If you're in the house, go upstairs. Don't have snacks in your room in the kitchen. Go sit in the bathtub, take a bath or something. Audrey, sis, hey girl, hey, schedule something. You're just going to have to kind of fight with yourself the first couple of days. But when you don't feed yourself at these hours, the body is designed to decrease the amount of ghrelin and the hormones that are produced during these feeding times, which is why hunger lessens and lessens over the period of the fast. And if you're doing a water fast, the hunger hormone will completely disappear after 3 days. You will not be hungry anymore after 3 days. Now, if you drinking water with like electrolytes, adding lemon and stuff, you're just delaying the inevitable, right? Ghrelin is going to keep being produced, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's day 5 and I'm still hungry. Okay, well, what are you consuming? I'm putting lemon and lime. Well, you're getting the calories from the lemon and the lime, and the ghrelin is being activated again, which is why the hunger is not going anywhere. You have to be very, very careful when you fast. But if you're doing juice, then just prepare the juices ahead of time. And don't get it, try not to wait till you're starving. You want to make sure you consume it before you're starving, so it can, you want to learn how to help yourself get through the fast. Get it before you're starving so you can stop when an appropriate amount has been consumed. Then drink water and go about your day. Go drink your juice or whatever, then go meditate, do something, get out in the sun if it's a nice day outside, right? Even if it's cold, you might need to go take a walk. You just need to get past this 2 hour window to where till the ghrelin begins to lessen and you're literally not being driven by your gut. Because the first few days of any fast, you're literally being driven by your stomach because you're trying to bring it in line. So I know, and it's really hard for women who have to, and even men who are the cookers in their house, right? When you're going to fast, you're going to probably have to prep for the first 3 days, right? Maybe pre-cut all the stuff, put it in the refrigerator. If things need to go in the oven or whatever, do it before you fast. That way it's already done. If you have a spouse that's aware that you're fasting, let them know, babe, need your help. First 2 days, it's going to be kind of hard. Okay, I prepped everything. At these times, I'm going to need to just stay away from the kitchen, but everything is done. Just stick it in the oven, reheat, whatever. Like if you got a spouse that can work with you, that is amazing. They can help you keep to your goals, right? I did. Okay, so Vanette said, I didn't cook his flesh and blood yesterday. He wasn't too happy about that. Okay, so let me tell you what I found to be the most easiest thing to do, right? you're gonna have to make sure you get your, like, drink your juice, whatever it is. And if you're like, sometimes spouses tend to wean off of meats faster than another spouse does. But if the spouse that's weaning off the meats is the main cooker of the house, a lot of times the spouse who is still consuming flesh foods, they aren't too happy about that, right? And it brings in friction. Things that should be a blessing to you and your household now begins to bring friction in because we're not really using wisdom, right? So what I found to keep down, I found to be helpful to me, to keep down arguments and stuff. Let them know I'm fasting, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna prep some stuff. There are some things where I want to cook the day up. That's fine, right? And I just gotta kind of make sure, even if I have my juice right then and there before I start cooking or whatever, you have to do that. But as soon as I get it prepped and get out the kitchen, I'm good, right? Set the timer, come back in, and just, so there's no hiccup, because we don't, like I said, we don't want to be doing something that's meant to be a blessing to us and eventually our households, right? To be something that's like, it's destroying the marital bond and the atmosphere of the home, that we're defeating our own purpose. That's how preachers' kids and stuff and preachers' families, they get all out of whack, because the person becomes, like what one of my old pastors used to say, so spiritually minded that you're no earthly good, right? So some of these things we just got to kind of use some wisdom on and just adjust, because if everybody was plant-based in the household, this would be an easy thing, but it's not, right? And we don't want to alienate our loved ones from us while we're trying to pull ourselves together. So you just got to kind of use some wisdom, right? Because if they're in good moods, and it could be male or female, not just husbands. I've seen this with women sometimes as well. If you just, because what happens is you kind of create these triggers inside of your spouse at these times if you're not using wisdom. So anytime they hear, all right, well, I'm about to fast, all of a sudden they get defensive. I ain't gonna get what I need, and you're gonna be off, whatever. You create triggers. So anytime they hear fast or anything similar to the word, they automatically get defensive and they don't want to have any parts of it. And it destroys the continuity of the house, the atmosphere. So you just got to kind of think about some of these things. Think about what works for your own family dynamic. What works for yours may not work for this house, right? So everybody, that's something everybody individually needs to figure out about their own household and how they currently operate, right? And I wouldn't say, like, because my husband is not 100% plant-based, but I don't beat him across the head with it. But what tends to happen is when we're talking about it here, he tends to walk into the conversation like, oh, there y'all go. And then that time we was having, I was on live, I think the very first live, Key started talking about animal sandwiches and stuff. He said, what? And from that point, he couldn't get it out of his head. It wasn't me beating him over the head with stuff. He's hearing other voices. And now every time he tries to go eat something, he was like, oh my God. Like, even to he's still struggling with it. But he's cut down a whole lot because he just can't seem to get this picture out of his head that I'm eating an animal. Clearly, you've been doing it all your life. But phrasing it certain ways, coming from somebody that doesn't live in your household, just catches you off guard, but it seats itself deep down in your sha-na-na. That's one of the most powerful things that could ever happen. And it helps you with what you're trying to do with bringing your whole entire household online with life in all its forms, right? How we live and what we consume. Hey, babe. So, and that's it for today, y'all. We are done. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. I do. I love y'all. He about to start shenanigans, but that's it for today. I love y'all. Father, we thank you for a time of fasting and coming together, and yes, and marriage. Yes. Marriage is a wonderful thing. Right? Yep, I see it. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Yeah, yep. Let me end this. Bye, y'all.